Batman, Spider-Man, Spawn, Hellboy, Invincible, Rorschach. These characters are all the faces of their respective publishers, and all of them are white men. Except for this guy, he's not human. Or this guy. This isn't a stupid joke about his costume, he is a black dude. Let's expand a bit. Superman, Wonder Woman, Iron Man, Captain America, Omni-Man, Dr. Manhattan. These are the few more of the most popular characters from the main titans of comics. And with one exception, they're all men. And with two exceptions, they're all white. Now obviously this intense lack of diversity is a result of the long-running history of the medium of comic books. Many of these characters were created long before there was an attempt to create diversity and representation in American media. Today I'm going to be discussing that particular shift in American culture, when our comics, movies, and TV shows truly began displaying the American idea of equality. My main points of discussion will be Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, and the Green Lanterns. The story of Wonder Woman's creation is a wild story of radical feminism and crazy fetishization. We start with the suppression of comic books as an art form around 1939, just a year after the first ever superhero, Superman, was created. With many disregarding their content as mindless entertainment that would rot children's brains, mothers would throw your detective and action comics out and give you your dinner of lead paint and cigarettes. However, revered published psychologist William Moulton Marston, inventor of the first ever lie detector, thought otherwise. He was of the belief that comic books could be the next great art form. DC Comics saw the opportunity to bring on such a reputable man to give them notable credibility in the eyes of the American public, and brought him on to make his own comic book character. Now, to contextualize many facets of Wonder Woman's debut, Marston also had other fairly radical ideas. To start, he was a polygamist. He lived with his wife, Elizabeth Holloway, and his girlfriend, Olive Byrne, both among the very few college-educated women in the country. His wife also a published psychologist. Mr. Marston was also a radical feminist, believing that women were inherently the superior sex, citing their supposed increased capacity for love and lowered capacity for violence. Because of this, he was of the belief that we should live in a matriarchal society. These facts quite apparently parallel core aspects of Wonder Woman's origin. Other parts of the Marston's life also heavily influenced parts of Wonder Woman's comics, particularly her weapons and her weaknesses, primarily wielding the lasso of truth and losing all of her powers upon being tied up. If you can't piece together what part of the author's livelihood this could be inspired by, you won't learn here. These highly sexual undertones did not go unnoticed by the American public, eliciting particular outrage from conservative mothers. This caused DC to remove Marston from the company, halting the creation of Wonder Woman stories until a while after his death. Very ironic that one of the most famous female characters ever created was originally a vessel for some dude's fetishes. Great to see the respect she's mostly treated with now. Spider-Man is the character that I would cite as being the most famous superhero of all time, only really challenged by Batman. A massive aspect of Spider-Man's popularity is his relatability to the average Joe. Peter Parker is just a normal dude behind the tights and the webs, and people love that. People of any color or creed can appreciate his personal struggles and, for the most part, relate to them, struggling with homework, relationships, family, and the like. However, being a white dude, there are a few things from his perspective that apply exclusively to him. His intense relatability stops at the racial level for many. However, that statement only truly applies to the character of Peter Parker. The divide between Peter and Spider-Man alleviates this fact. To quote the legendary Stan Lee,
"You know one of the greatest things about Spider-Man's outfit, his costume?
What?
He is completely covered. So any kid could imagine he's Spider-Man because no color of the skin shows. He could be black under that. He could be red. He could be yellow. He could belong to any race. And that
True.
wasn't done purposely. It was done accidentally. But I think it was the best thing we did, making him so that he could be anybody under that costume."
and Marvel writers really ran with this quote, sharing the identity of Spider-Man across so many different types of people. To illustrate my point, I'm going to show you a collection of alternate Batmen, who we all know is white because of the design of his costume. Now compare these images to this collection of alternate Spider-Men. Notice how, not only are there a lot more, they're also far more diverse. I find that Spider-Man, or woman, whether they be Peter Parker, Miles Morales, or Gwen Stacy, is one of the greatest pillars of representation ever made. Now notice I said one of. The title of Green Lantern is one that has been held by many characters over the history of comics. In short, for those that aren't nerds, the Green Lanterns are like an organization of space cops that patrol different sectors of the universe. Majority of Green Lantern stories focus on human lanterns that have been assigned to Earth. Most Green Lantern stories will focus on a few of the Green Lanterns like Guy Gardner or Kyle Rayner, but Justice League stories will typically just include one Lantern in the core lineup, typically being Hal Jordan, the oldest Lantern and easily the most famous. However, when making the 2001 animated show, Justice League the Animated Series, creator Bruce Timm replaced Hal Jordan as Green Lantern with John Stewart. This, as well as Static Shock's debut in 2000, put strong, black characters at the forefront of the American youth, with many today citing these shows as being major influences growing up. He also chose to replace Aquaman with Hawkgirl, which is cool, and he also substituted Barry Allen as the Flash with Wally West, so redhead representation, I guess. That's not where the Green Lanterns stop with their inclusive efforts. The three newest Green Lanterns have respectively been Jessica Cruz, a Hispanic woman, Simon Baz, a Muslim man, and Sojourner Mulane, a black lesbian woman. Let's talk about the last two for a moment, specifically their origin stories. Both of these characters' backgrounds are fairly true to the issues that these minority groups could possibly face in America. Simon, a Muslim living in America after 9/11, was forced into a life of crime after facing intense discrimination from fellow American citizens. And Sojourner Mulane was an ex-cop who was fired from the force after her commissioner found that she had been showing support for Black Lives Matter movements. When media can truly translate the struggle of a people, those like me can gain a true understanding and appreciation of what others may deal with. And this is the power that our comics have had and hopefully will always have.